Being motivated can be very hard, and as a college student, I know firsthand that I hate doing things that I have to do, such as my essay that's due tomorrow that I haven't even started. But that's a topic for another discussion, and in this video we're going to talk about the NBA side of things, because as you can see from the title, we're going to talk about some players that quit on their teams. But before we get started, if you enjoy our videos, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, push the bell for post notifications, and let me know your opinions in the comment section down below. But without further ado, let's talk about our first player, and that is Rajon Rondo. For those who do not know, Rajon Rondo was actually traded to the Dallas Mavericks a couple of years ago from Boston, and he was not very happy about it. So what did he do? Well, I'm glad you asked. Rajon Rondo would turn the ball over consistently, he played with a lack of focus, and for those who do not believe that Rondo actually quit on the Mavericks in that playoff series, I leave you guys with this video clip. Rondo is purposely walking slow to get an 8-second call, and I think at that point the entire Dallas city hated Rajon Rondo forever. And I wouldn't be shocked if the entire roster did not like Rajon Rondo. I wouldn't like him either after doing something like that, because he clearly plays when he wants to. For a guy that has the IQ of Rajon Rondo, arguably the highest IQ in the NBA still to this day, to get an 8-second call, we all know he's better and smarter than that. He had to have done that on purpose. Nobody was guarding him, nobody was trapping him at half court. He was just walking too slow to the point that he got called for 8 seconds. And if I'm being quite honest, Rajon Rondo's performance in Dallas was one of the reasons why I was not happy about him coming to Chicago, because his nonchalant attitude of playing when he wants to definitely can rub people the wrong way. And considering that he did this to the Mavericks in the playoffs, yeah, it definitely was not a good look. But moving on to the next player, we have Vince Carter in Toronto. Mr. Half Man, Half Amazing Vinsanity had a very hell of a rocky start to his career. Despite making multiple All-Star appearances in Toronto, his playoff success was very minimal, and to be quite honest with you, it was kind of embarrassing just how trash of an organization the Raptors were, because despite Vince Carter putting up monster scoring numbers and having a really well-rounded scoring game, they were unable to put consistent options around him, which led to them only making the playoffs twice throughout his entire tenure with the organization. Things would eventually lead on to Vince Carter essentially quitting on the organization. And I kid you not, Vince Carter, over the last 3 years of his time in Toronto, he would see decreases in his field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and even his free throw percentage. It was just very obvious that Vince Carter did not want to be in Toronto anymore. And for those who need the proof, let me just read the box score of his last 20 games in Toronto before he was traded to the New Jersey Nets. He averaged just short of 16 points per contest, along with 3 assists and 3 rebounds, shooting 41% from the field, 32% from behind the arc, and 69% from the free throw line. If you just read Vince Carter's body language, whether he was on the bench or on the court, it was very obvious that he just was not happy with the direction of the organization. And what's crazy is, if you don't believe me, just look at his numbers as soon as he got traded, because he averaged 28 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds on 46% from the field, 43% from behind the arc, and 82% from the free throw line during his time in New Jersey in the last 56 games of the season. Carter would later go on to say in an interview that the Nets just started using him better, and honestly, I don't buy that, because Vince Carter had made it publicly known that he hated what was going on in Toronto. And considering that the Raptors were a new organization and their market and appeal was not even what it is today, which is saying a lot because it isn't even all that right now. So as far as I'm concerned, Vince Carter knew what he was doing. He quit on that team. He didn't want to be there, and I don't blame him, because yeah, that team was a dumpster fire. That's why Kawhi Leonard winning that championship last year was a huge deal, because no matter what kind of success that they see, they always result in failure. But let's move on to the next player that we have on this list. We have LeBron James in Game 1 of the 2018 NBA Finals. Now, I know a lot of people are probably saying, hey, why did you have to bring this up? LeBron that year finished second in the MVP race and even averaged 28, 9, and 9. And to be quite honest with you, it was an incredible year. I gotta give him props for that. And in the finals, he followed that with one of the greatest performances in NBA history, recording 51 points along with 8 assists and 8 rebounds, a steal and a block, shooting 59% from the field, 42% from behind the arc, and 91% from the free throw line. Now I know a lot of people are probably saying, okay, so what's the issue? Well, after J.R. Smith had that blunder that we all know, LeBron James in overtime was terrible, recording 2 points that only came from the free throw line. He missed his only 3-point attempt, and he went 0 of 4 throughout the entire overtime regulation. So yeah, LeBron James was not great in overtime, and the reports even said that he was angry in the locker room after the game, and I don't blame him, because when J.R. Smith did what he did, it really just sucked the life out of that entire Cavs team. And considering that they weren't even favorites in that series, for them to be in a very close game that they could have and should have won, because to have regulation end the way that it did, it really can just suck the life out of an entire team, especially their best player, who had a performance for the ages, arguably his greatest performance of all time, that's about to go to waste because a guy didn't know the time left on the shot clock. But yeah, LeBron James in overtime definitely quit on his team, but I gotta be real, I can understand why. Moving on to the next player that we have, ironically, it's LeBron James again, but it's what happened in 2010. In 2010, LeBron James actually won his second MVP award. Winning it in the season before, LeBron James became a back-to-back winner, leading the Cleveland Cavaliers to a 61-win season. But in the second round against the Boston Celtics, as they were favored, I hate to say that, LeBron James wet the bed in the last 3 games. To be quite frank with you though, I do believe that the Cavs should not have been favored in this series, as the Celtics had Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Rajon Rondo. Anyone with the brain can tell that that team was far better than LeBron's roster. But throughout that entire year, there were rampant reports about where LeBron was going to end up in free agency. So this series was very important, not only for the Cavs organization, their relationship with LeBron and trying to keep him there, but for LeBron James' legacy, because this could have been the last image that his hometown team saw of him. And in the first 3 games, LeBron was phenomenal, as they took a 2-1 lead on the Celtics, and he averaged 32 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds, as well as 2 steals and 2 blocks, shooting 54% from the field, 38% from behind the arc, and 74% from the free throw line. But in the last 3 games in the series, yeah, they would get blown out in game 5, they lose by 10 to the Boston Celtics in game 4, and in the closeout game, LeBron James shot 38% from the field and also had 9 turnovers. To summarize what happened in the last 3 games, LeBron James averaged 21 points, 8 assists, and 11 rebounds, as well as 2 steals, but he also shot 34% from the field, 15% from behind the arc, 74% from the free throw line, as well as averaged over 6 turnovers per contest. LeBron was horrendous in the last 3 games, and if it wasn't for him returning in 2015, that would have been the lasting image of him in Cleveland, because we all know that iconic shot of LeBron James taking off his jersey for potentially the last time and him walking away to South Beach. Now, some may be saying that's not quitting on your team, that's just playing bad, but if you go back and watch the tape of the last game, which was game 6 against the Celtics in 2010, LeBron James just did not look like he wanted to be there, and he was turning the ball over recklessly. Sure, there was a lot of defensive attention on him, but it's still no excuse to play as poorly as LeBron James did after starting off the series incredible, taking a 2-1 lead. But moving on to the next and final player that we have on this list, we have the one and only, God rest his soul, Kobe Bean Bryant. Kobe Bryant, easily one of the greatest players in the history of the game, and in 2006 he showed why with an incredible season, averaging 35 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, as well as 2 steals, shooting 45% from the field, 35% from behind the arc on nearly 7 attempts a game, and 84% from the free throw line. And with a roster that was very, very subpar to say the least, he was able to lead them to 45 wins and finished top 5 in the MVP race. And in the first round matched up against the Phoenix Suns, led by ironically the MVP and Steve Nash, Kobe would lead the Lakers to a 3-1 lead on them and was 1 win away from proving to essentially everybody why he was the MVP instead of Steve Nash. But after losing game 5 and 6, despite dropping 29 points and also 50 in game 6 that a lot of people forget about for some reason, a lot of people called Kobe selfish and said that he didn't get his teammates involved. So what did he do in the final game? He took the least amount of shots that he took throughout the entire series, only taking 16 shots. And in the fourth quarter, get this, Kobe Bryant took only one shot. One shot in the fourth quarter. And throughout the entire second half, he even only took 3 shots and recorded 1 point. It was very obvious that Kobe quit on that team, and he listened to all of the media attention and let it get to his head. You have to stick with what got you there, and obviously Kobe Bryant did not believe in that philosophy that day. But it is what it is, as Kobe Bryant would learn from it, and eventually he went on to become a 2-time NBA champion post Shaquille O'Neal, as well as capturing 2 finals MVPs. So I'm sure at the end of Kobe Bryant's career, he wasn't losing sleep at night because of this loss, but a lot of people say that this loss and this performance is the reason why he can never be compared to Michael Jordan, because he would just never quit on his team and just stop shooting. But that concludes this video. Y'all let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. Also hit that subscribe button and push the bell for post notifications. This is your boy David from NBA Knowledge signing out. Y'all stay safe. Peace.